Can you talk a little bit about your efforts, what you did, how successful you were?
Well, Don Porter, the president of the International Softball Federation, who is basically the head of our sport at the international level, put together the Back Softball campaign, and I was in charge of the athletes committee of that campaign. So I did a lot of lobbying for about 2 years, trying to really go around and talk to the IOC members and educate them on the sport and how well the sport did. When you look at all 28 sports that were in the Olympic Games, and you started to pick through about, you know, the TV watchability, all the ticket sales, all that type of stuff, softball was smack in the middle. We were not at the bottom of the list. So the fact that we kind of got pulled out made a lot of other sports kind of go, wow, okay, wait, if softball got pulled out and they're middle of the pack to strong, our sport could be in jeopardy as well. So we spent a lot of time lobbying, and whenever you're, you know, trying to promote sport, you don't want to put other sports down just to make yourself look better. I mean, basically, we were trying to say to them, softball's a great sport. You don't need to pull any of us out. If you want 2 other sports, if you want golf and rugby, just include them, add them, go from 28 sports to 30 sports. But I think that the IOC had been trying to limit the size and the scope of the Olympic Games, try to make it a little bit smaller. And I don't know that pulling sports out is the right answer. Maybe it's limiting credentials for media and different things like that. If you want to really bring the games down, there's a lot of different ways to do it. The other thing that we tried to educate, and I tried to educate the IOC members too, is that when you start pulling a sport out, you limit opportunities for women. Even though he is, in the IOC are saying, oh, we're going to have more women now participating. Well, okay, so fine, you're going to include more basketball teams and more soccer teams, but you're basically allowing more women in the games but less opportunities because there's less sports now. There's less sport opportunities for women. And for me, you know, that was one of the things that I was trying to say, which was really tough. You know, you can only do so much when it comes to trying to educate people. Once they have their mind made up, or they've basically been, you know, told a story from the start that the sport shouldn't be included for this reason, that reason, or whatever, it's hard to sway their thinking. And we did as much as we could. I think the ISF will continue to lobby to the IOC to try to get the sport back in, but it's a long process.
Do you have plans for to get it back? Do you have a next step?
Well, I think that you know, in the future, we need to think outside the box. We're going to have to really step up and do some things that are out of the ordinary, because what was ordinary didn't work. I mean, the IOC pulled us out. So we have to figure out something that's going to help improve our sport, continue to grow it worldwide. I think that as much as we try to say we're not women's baseball, which we are not, we are a different sport, I think at some point it's going to be hard if baseball tries to lobby to get back into the games, and softball tries to lobby as 2 different sports. At some point you have to wonder, if we go back in as one sport, men's baseball, women's softball, is there a chance to go in as one sport instead of 2 separate sports, especially when they're trying to limit the size and the scope of the Olympics. So I think that we have to think outside of the box. We have to continue to talk to the IOC. Don Porter, who's the president of the ISF, is going to need to continue to get people in touch with the IOC, in touch with lobbying and building those relationships. It's about building relationships with those IOC members to educate them that this is a great sport, and figure out what's going to work for everybody. It's got to be a win-win relationship, otherwise it's going to fail at some point.
This excerpt is brought to you by the Massachusetts School of Law, the leader of reform in legal education and a leader in multimedia education for the public. To view the full interview and for a full listing of MSL's programs, log on to mslaw.edu.